as me, or do I go to an expert who can help me to get over it? But I've got the doctor. I'm looking at the doctor just across the road, and I don't ever go and see to him, ever go and ask him. So we need to use this on-off approach to get rid of weeds. Thank you.
Bueno, mientras se pone la presentación.
We're waiting for the presentation to go up. That is precisely what I'm going to be talking about coordinating technicians and farmers and how important it is, because by doing this, we can obtain very important information and we can tackle the olive fruit fly, which is our hugest challenge in terms of olive growing. When we talk about pests, it's important to understand that integrated pest management depends on the area, the variety, and the crop. There is a very different, a very wide variety of orographic layout in Catalonia. There are a lot of different varieties, a lot of native varieties, quite a few. There are some very old olive trees. There are highly intensive fields or groves. There is integrated production. There is organic farming, which means that we're dealing with highly heterogeneous areas. And our integrated management approach has to be tailored to this, using risk estimation and monitoring. We need prevention measures and cultural measures. We need thresholds to decide on intervention. We need alternatives to chemical control. And of course, we need chemical control too. We do this through the XEACAT, which is the network of alert stations in Catalonia. As soon as the plant health service experts and the ADVs identify pests and diseases, we issue warnings. We have 4 stations and 4 substations. We foster integrated pest management. We carry out experiments, and we also do technology transfer. The major pests and diseases that we're monitoring are Bactrocera, Praes, Caesetia, Flotribus, and Usifera in terms of pests, and in terms of diseases, Fusicladium, Colicotrichum, Capnodium, Pseudomonas, Armillaria, and so on. But our major challenge is the olive fruit fly. This is our key pest. There are other pests, of course, and there's a direct correlation. And for those other pests, there is a direct correlation between population levels and treatment threshold. But in the case of the olive fruit fly, you might have one field that is truly infested, and the neighboring field would be almost devoid of them. It depends on the biology, on the variety, on the area, climate conditions, and how the crop is managed. All of this will determine whether the egg laying will be earlier or later, so precociousness is going to be a factor. And the explosiveness will also vary. There are some varieties that can be infested in over a very short period compared to others. And then the severity can also vary according to variety. But what is usually shared within a given area is the stage and development. So both for prevention and for intervention, we will use the development stage of the fly as our guideline. As Professor Bagnoli pointed out, this fly can migrate over long distances. This means that treatment has to be done on a given date simultaneously over wide areas. And this is something that we do by coordinating work between experts and the technical advisors and farmers. And we coordinate work via XEACAT. The chart on the left is one that I developed with Marie-Luz, my colleague. The lower part of the chart shows the thermal difference between maximum and minimum temperature. The red lines are for the coastal areas. The yellow lines are for the interior areas where there is less involvement. And relative humidity is also a lot higher in the coastal areas. And all of this will determine the degree of involvement. We've subdivided our counties into zones. And within each zone, we have certain control or checkpoints or monitoring points. They're shown in the bottom map in colors. And what we have is traps there, which we use for qualitative and quantitative purposes. The quantitative checks are easier. We're checking the level of population using sex-based traps with pheromones. And we check the degree of puncture. We see the red one, which is a new one, a recent one, the blue one, which is an older one. Most treatments will apply to new egg-laying holes, and so that's important. Then there's the evolutionary stage, the number of eggs, whether they're mature. For oviposition, in about 30% of these stings, as it were, these holes, there is no actual egg. And we also have to bear in mind that ovicidal products only work until L2. They no longer work after L3. And so there are all of these factors that have to be taken into account. The information is placed. We don't use on a computer platform, not unlike Andalusia, what we use is Google Docs. Then we process the data, and then we issue the relevant plant health alerts. The alerts vary according to whether the farm is conventional or organic, they vary according to the active substance recommended, and they outline homogeneous areas, they identify the variety and the date of treatment. Here we have the treatments that we recommended in 2013 and 2014 for adulticide and larvicide. You can see the different counties, the different areas. We see a differentiation between general treatments according to variety and then post-harvest treatments, because these have been these months of October were the warmest in 100 years. So basically, the fly was still laying its eggs very late in the year. In orange, you can see the area that's neither the coast nor the interior. The yellow is the interior. We had 4 treatments, 2 treatments in the interior, 4 treatments in the coastal areas in one particular zone. I mean, you can see that over time. Now here we have the treatments shown over 5 years. If we compare the treatments carried out at the station to those that would be needed to obtain the same kind of effectiveness but less precision, the difference in number is between 8 and 11 treatments. This means that we've saved about 3 million euros a year in our area. Our alerts have distinguish between the areas. There are 8 homogeneous areas. They vary according to climate, so in different years we recommend different treatments. They're also based on varieties, and they also depend on whether we're talking about organic or conventional farming. So relatively speaking, by using this alert network, we have fewer treatments. But what is another challenge that we have? We have to reach out to the farmer. For most of our olive surface area, each individual farmer has about 2 hectares. There are professional olive farmers, but many are either not professional at all or have olives as a secondary crop. So how do we operate? We use email. Email is the equivalent of a letter, snail mail letter. Some cooperatives actually use letters on paper. Then there are text messages, which are the equivalent of the old blackboard, but there are some cooperatives that still use the old blackboard. And the farmer drives by on his tractor and checks. And then there is a hotline that the farmers can call up to be told about the warning. That would be the equivalent of the old town crier. There are some villages, in fact, where there is a town crier, where the plant health warnings are actually read out in public. Finally, ZEACAT is an organization for the coordination of integrated pest management. It is a low-cost type of control, and it is beneficial for farmers because it achieves healthy crops and good olive production. For manufacturers, it might seem to be a problem because we're saving on buying their product, but it reduces the number of complaints. The first thing that farmers complain about when they don't achieve good plant health is because they say the pesticides aren't working, so that's important too. And finally, it's good for society in terms of safety, in terms of environmental protection and human health protection, and in terms of high-quality products. Finally, when work is done properly, you can obtain quality-based recognition in the form of awards and the rest. Our area has received all sorts of international awards for extra virgin olive oil. The Spanish Ministry Awards, awards from the United States, from Israel, from Japan. What this shows is that we've done our work properly. Without further ado, I want to show you the town crier. I hope my town cry, as it were, has not been too tough on you. I hope you've accepted it. Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias, Jordi.